Alrighty, friends, you did it once again. You hit the play button on yet another...
Kevin, another toothsome episode of V8 Radio.
All right, another toothsome episode. Oh, man, I don't even know if I want to know.
Of course you'd want to know. Everybody wants to know.
Yeah,
It
right.
just
right.
means temptingly tasty, just
Well,
like
that's-
the rest of our episodes.
For darn sure.
Gosh darn right.
A toothsome episode of V8 Radio. I'm your host, Kevin Ostie, joined as always by our esteemed co-host, Mr. Mike Huball Clark. And it's going to be temptingly tasty, I guess.
Oh, it's going to be an episode, boy.
Right. Oh, man. And for those of you who have heard the show once at least before, you know that we start every episode with an automotive sort of trivia question.
Amen to that, brother.
Yeah. Did you come up with one this time?
As fate would have it, yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Well, good, because, you know, we do, before the trivia question, we probably should apologize to our loyal listener because we've been out of the game for, like a month at least, I think.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It has, and I attribute that to both of us being insanely busy, and I've actually had a little bit of travel and things going on. Not that the show doesn't take priority, it's just a matter of many things going on, which is good. So we appreciate you hanging in there. What I actually wanted to do was, cool off a little bit on the episode production so that we slipped a little bit in the Apple iTunes ratings so that we can have a triumphant return.
Well, I think your plan is working perfectly so far.
Well, the slipped part is.
Yeah, exactly.
So before we get too deep into this one, we're going to ask everybody to subscribe on Apple iTunes or wherever you hear this, so that we can triumphantly return to the top 450 of.
We're in the top 1,000 automotive
right.
podcast, man.
The hot 1,000.
Hot 1,000.
It's like 2 Memorial Day weekends in a row.
Right. Oh, brother.
All right, so you prepared a trivia question, man. What do you got?
All right, let's do this. All right, Kev. When the oil embargo hit us in 1973, the U.S. automakers were kind of scrambling to come up with something a little more fuel-efficient engine.
True.
And our good friends at Pontiac did that very thing. They developed a 4-cylinder engine that had a production run from 1977 through 1993. But what I'm going to ask you today, Kevin, is... what was the name of that venerable little 4-cylinder engine?
Well, that venerable little 4-cylinder engine, Pontiac engineers would have liked to thought that it had a much bigger stature than just a little 4-cylinder.
Right.
So I'm going to say they named it after John Wayne.
Oh.
And they called it the Iron Duke.
Oh, that's impressive.
If it's right.
If it's right. And we'll find out at the end of the show, kids.
That's right. Yeah, that's our bait and switch technique to have you listen through the whole show. Yeah, I think that's what that is, the Iron Duke. And those were tough little motors, man. Mm-hmm. Those were hard to kill, for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure a few died, but
many.
They put up a fight.
Many did, but many of them, I remember trying to injure a few of those myself, and I was very surprised by their resiliency.
Cool.
All right.
All right, what do you got for me, man?
I've got just kind of a general one, just an easy, right to the point kind of question.
All right, let's do it.
It's a nice round number, which is your hint.
Okay.
How many Cadillacs were produced in 1967?
A nice round number is my hint.
That's right. It's a very general, totally trivial question. Not common daily knowledge, but how many Cadillacs?
All right, one more time. How many Cadillacs were produced in 1967?
That's it. That's all there is to it. How many Cadillacs?
Let's see here. in 1967.
Right. Big year for psychedelic rock and roll music.
Yeah, man.
And
We should
also
have some
pretty good year
Doors
for
playing in the
caddies.
background or something.
Yeah, yeah. Well, back then Buick actually had an ad campaign. Did you know that? It was the car to light your fire.
I did not know that.
I think that was actually for 1970. So they were a couple of
Huh.
years behind the Doors with Light My Fire, but they used that. And I don't think they paid any royalties either.
I bet our buddy Yardley could probably expand upon that.
Sure he could.
Yeah, he's a
As
big
he
Buick guy.
as he tallies up our trivia question,
Yes.
correct answer
Well,
ratio.
get ready to put one more in the lost column for old Mikey. All right, so a nice round number.
Yes.
A nice round number is 0, Kevin.
Well, they
0.
produced more than 0
Okay.
Cadillacs in '67.
Okay. 20,000.
I want you to think about this for a second.
Oh, okay.
So all of Cadillac for 1967.
Oh, good heavens, man.
And a little context, American car makers made a lot of cars in the 60s.
They did make a lot of cars in the 60s.
I think Chevrolet made over a million, well over a million. I think they made 550,000 Impalas alone.
Right.
So, Cadillac's obviously not Chevrolet for volume, but
Correct.
I'll just tell you it was more than 20,000.
Okay. A nice round number then, I'll say, is 100,000.
All right. I'll take that.
All right. Thanks for the extra something on that.
Yeah, sometimes we get wrapped up in our daily lives and, we might need a little context for these things.
Yeah. Need a lot of context.
Right. Awesome. 100,000 duly noted.
Dig it. Dig it.
I do.
Right on.
So what else is happening, man?
Well,
It's been so long I don't even know how to do this show anymore.
yeah, man, I know. So what's new? I don't have a whole lot going on the automotive front. On the house project front, however, I kind of bit off a little more than I could chew, it seems, and I started building my first deck on the back of my house, and it's a doozy, all right.
Well, this is how we grow.
Yeah, yeah, because I need more growing.
Well, in certain places on the house. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, but we've been talking about doing this. My wife and I, Jenny, have been talking about this for a number of years on the back of our house, and we finally decided to pull the trigger and just do it. And we wanted to do it ourselves. You save a little bit of money, and I'm pretty handy and I can do stuff. It's just I haven't taken on a project of this magnitude in quite some time, and I get a little wrapped up in my own head, believe it or not, and I just don't want
we all do.
to do the wrong thing, and I don't want to be on step 100 and then realize I screwed up step 1, and then I have to redo everything. That's my biggest fear.
Well, but you're smart enough to cross the I's and dot the T's so that you don't have that problem.
Yeah, and I have good resources. My good buddy Randy, who we talked about on the show before, he's highly intelligent when it comes to things like this, and he's built he built his own house, for crying out loud. Mm-hmm. So
nice.
He knows what he's doing. So I refer to him on quite a bit of things, and I call him up to Randy's deck support project hotline, and I say, hey, am I allowed to do it this way? Is this what code says? And he's like, no, you can do it this way, or you can do it that way. It's fine, and yada yada yada.
Well, it's outstanding.
Yeah, he's been helping me out along. So. And the public record, thank you, Randy Burge, for helping me out with this so far. It's been great. And,
Heck yeah! And you've been sending me pictures of your progress, and I know there's been some delays with material availability and supplies.
Oh yeah. I still don't have all the wood I need.
Yeah.
I still don't have all the framing. I have a lot of the framing, and I have 0 deck boards.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's been, and I ordered everything in July, and we're recording this at the end of September.
Right.
So, and I still don't have everything. It's been a real lumber shortage thanks to the COVID-19. Lumber yards are trying to keep up with production, and they stopped producing for a while.
Yep.
And there's a huge demand, and unfortunately, I'm not at the top of the list right now.
Well, I mean, the good thing about that is that you're able to, in some ways kind of take your time and make sure that the substructure is right. The
Yeah.
materials that you have are going in at the speed that you're dictating.
True.
But
Yeah.
that also means it's kind of hit or miss on your time availability to put this together.
Yeah. I've been working on weekends, and actually took this whole week off from work so we could focus on getting as much done as possible with the materials that I have, and then try to piecemeal stuff from here and there and try to get everything I can, through other means rather than waiting on the company I ordered everything through.
Right.
So,
And that's quite a conundrum. We're in the same boat at the V8 Speed and Resto shop where we're ordering parts like crazy, and we have so many cars in the shop, and many of them are stalled out just because of parts availability.
Yeah.
You get to a point where you can't do anything anymore. And the big question is, well, do you bring another car in that we might not have room for? Mm-hmm. But you don't want anybody standing around.
right, exactly.
So what we're telling people now is that, if you want to bring us a car to do some work on, be it a full restoration or a vintage air install or a sniper EFI system or a 5-speed conversion or whatever, let's get those parts ordered like today, even though the car might not be scheduled to come in for another month or two, because we need that 5, 6, 8 week lead time right now, and it's brutal.
That is brutal. That's got to be so frustrating. I mean, you got to play, almost like a shell game of sorts to, moving a car here, working on a car there, hoping you get the parts for car number 3, soon. And it's got to be, tough on on your people. It's got to be tough on you guys trying to make sure that they have enough to do.
Well, it's strenuous on everybody, the customer as well, because they're like, many people think, hey, I want to upgrade my car. I'm going to drop it off on Tuesday. You guys can do the work on Friday, and I'm going to take it home next week.
Boom, bada bing, here we go.
Yeah, and unfortunately, right now, that's not the case. Even if it's only a 4 or 5 day job, it might take a calendar month, just because of the lack of parts and materials. So that supply chain management, thankfully, is largely being managed by Trevor, who's our shop foreman. And we recently brought on another individual named Brian, who's a dedicated parts manager.
Right.
And Brian's been doing a bang-up job with identifying, what parts comprise the particular project and ordering from our preferred sources. But if our preferred sources don't have it, he'll go to tier 2, tier 3, tier 4.
Perfect.
And just get them coming, and he knows how to manage all that, which is great. It's been the next logical progression of our shop is to have a general parts manager,
right?
And he's been killing it.
Awesome.
And he's working very well with Joe and our customer relation side to keep the customers up to speed on what's happening, so that everybody understands, and managing those expectations. Because a year ago, we didn't have to do a lot of this stuff. It was just like, sure, send the car, we'll order the parts, we'll be here in a couple of days and go. But today it's a different world. So
yeah, it's really growing. And I know you were telling me a little bit about Brian. He's a real car guy. Drives a really cool, 85, 86 Monte Carlo SS?
Yes, and it's funny. It looked pretty much bone stock wheels, stock exterior. Mm-hmm. It's got a 400 plus inch small block in it,
nice.
And a full ride tech suspension, and lots of stuff. He's like, him and his brother are like the G-body twins.
Nice.
So, yes, and I love those cars.
Yeah,
but it's really cool to have somebody on staff who has a lot of experience, hands-on experience with a particular car, especially one that's rising in popularity with a lot of our customer base. Those things are always gaining popularity. And last week, as a matter of fact, the guy brought in a 54,000 mile 85 Monte Carlo SS, a white car, T-tops, red gut, maroon,
Yeah.
And I said to Brian, I'm like, did you see that? And he's like, oh yeah. I saw it. and it's funny because underneath the center, not the center console, but at the bottom of the dash below the radio and the AC controls, this particular Monte Carlo has this little trapdoor kind of compartment that I was not familiar with. And I'm like, did you see that? And Brian's like, oh yeah, they call it the bread box. It's a little storage thing.
Oh, cool.
They're going anywhere between $300 and $1,000 on eBay right now. And that's a beautiful one. And that's a 1-year only interior pattern. And it's, really
Holy
hot
cow.
stuff. So, oh yeah. So he was all over it. So
Nice.
it's cool to have Mustang guys on staff and Camaro guys on staff.
Totally.
Vintage car guys and everything, so everybody can bring a little something to the party.
Oh, totally.
And the customer benefits.
Outstanding. Yeah, that's great, man.
It is. It's cool. He blends right in very well, so we're very happy with him.
Perfect. Welcome aboard, Brian.
Yeah, and he listens. So
Awesome.
yeah, right on. Power tour veteran and the whole deal.
Sweet.
Yeah, true enthusiast.
Dig it, man. Dig it.
Yeah. So in addition to to Brian, the whole rest of the staff is also doing very well. Our technicians, this time of year, it's nice because after work they'll hang out and BS amongst each other for a while. And our painter Jeff was in the shop all weekend doing a personal project. And this is a bummer. He's got a Jeep Grand Cherokee that his wife drives.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a windshield replaced, and whoever did the windshield replacement scratched the paint around the top of the windshield.
Oh no!
And it caused the paint to start to rust, and it bubbled back 6 inches up to the middle of the roof. So he had to pull the glass, strip the whole roof, do a color blend and the whole thing.
Oh, brother!
To fix all that, because the car's only a few years old, and he spent his entire weekend at the shop, working on his own thing. And that's something that we afford to our team, is the ability to use the shop if they need to for something like that.
Sure.
And I felt terrible for him because, he was there by himself and he's working on this thing. And I told Kelly, I'm like, should we go down and hang out with Jeff? I mean, the poor guy is there fixing his car by himself. And she's like, you know what? I think he actually enjoys it.
Oh.
I think he likes the time by himself. It's quiet. It's
Okay.
the weekend. He's making progress. Just let him do his thing. And then today was, as we were recording this, today was a Monday. And at the end of the day, I saw his wife drive off with the Grand Cherokee all painted up and done. And it's like, he got it done.
Perfect.
So it was cool.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's a great benefit that you afford to your people there, that they can use your shop. I mean, the resources that are available alone just, dwarfs anything that anyone's home shop would have.
Well, yeah, for sure. And we focus on safety. We like to have a couple of people there at a time,
Sure.
just in case something happens. But, in our world, you really got to look at what the benefits are, and we do provide some of the health insurance and a 401k and that kind of stuff. We split that stuff amongst the team. But, they're car guys. And it's kind of a drag to work on everybody else's cool projects all the time and not be able to work on your own in the shop. So, but at the same time, you got to be respectful of customer cars. You can't push a customer car out of the way and work on your own stuff on a Tuesday afternoon.
Right.
So we kind of walk the line, and like Trevor, has done quite a bit of work on his pickup truck in our shop, but we schedule around it and say, if you want to use the paint booth, well, Friday afternoon, we'll make sure we get everything cleared out of there. And if it's conducive, bring it in and go to town.
Perfect.
We allow everybody to do that. And then also internally, we can sometimes get better deals on parts buying wholesale or as a dealer. And we extend that to our team and whatever. I mean, you got to have some perks to any job.
True. Absolutely.
Or else, people won't work there. So
Yeah, the good people won't anyway.
Yeah, right. And we've got good people. So
Amen. You do. It's a
very
solid team you have there.
Yeah. These guys continue to impress every day.
Dig it, man.
Yeah. So it was a pretty cool weekend. Friday night, as a matter of fact, was kind of the last official local cruise at a local Sonic drive-in.
Is that right?
And Trevor was expressing some interest in going to this cruise. and we have just wrapped up that 57 Thunderbird Coyote project on the chassis. And I said, hey, the owner said she's cool with us using this car. Why don't you take the T-Bird?
Oh,
So
yeah.
he did that and took the T-Bird to this cruise. And it turns out that he's driving in and he's looking for a place to park, and it was packed. It was really kind of unusual for me to envision right now that it was a packed parking lot car show. Most things have been canceled or socially distanced or whatever. But in Missouri, where this was, Kirkwood, Missouri, the laws allowed for these things to happen. And he pulled in, and he was a little bit frustrated because he couldn't find a place to park. Well, meanwhile, the pet peeve is when you have these guys who have lawn chairs blocking off 5 or 6 spots at a car cruise for their friends.
Oh, right.
And Trevor comes rolling in with this Thunderbird. It's this black 57 with a red gut. And this guy hears it and he goes, hey, what's in that thing? And he's like, well, it's a Coyote. And he's like, well, then you need to park here. And they move these chairs out of the way.
Sweet.
And they allowed him to park, front and center right in the middle. And he had a crowd about 10 people deep at this car the whole night.
Get out of here.
Because nobody's seen it before. It was a fresh build. And the local guy that was kind of checking the car out, it turns out that him and another gentleman are very involved in a local Thunderbird club, and the other gentleman owns what he calls F-Birds, which are the NASCAR spec supercharged Thunderbirds.
Ooh.
There was 15 built in 1957.
Trivia question.
8 remaining, and this guy owns 2 of them.
Get out of here. Holy cow.
Yes, and the 2 that he owns, one's a restored car, the other is an unrestored car that actually raced on the sand at Daytona in 1957 time trials. And he's like, yeah, that T-Bird you guys brought is cool. And we're like, what you have is killer. So Trevor talked to this gentleman for quite a while, and it sounds like he's got an idea for a cool project. He's got a 2-door 57 Ford ranch wagon.
Oh, wow.
That he wants to put on a chassis. And he's got a 427 single overhead cam motor for it.
Get out of here.
So he's like, well, I can see you guys did this car. Maybe we could talk about doing this wagon. And Trevor's like, sure, we'd love to do it. So that was on Friday night. So Trevor sends me a text, and he's like, hey, I met this really cool guy at the Sonic Cruise on Friday. They'll be back Saturday night for a local T-Bird Club meeting. Maybe you want to bring the car back to the T-Bird Club thing. So I said, sure. I had some time. So I drove it back to the very same location and met the same guys he did. And it was killer because it's like, here's a bone stock 55 T-Bird, a bone stock 56, a bone stock 57, ours with the full chassis and coilovers and rack and pinion and the Coyote motor. And then next to it, they brought out that NASCAR spec number 2 unrestored Survivor.
Whoa.
Supercharged Thunderbird. And it was parked right next to it.
Oh, wow.
And you don't have to be a T-Bird guy to go, that's really cool.
Yeah, man. All day.
Oh, yeah. And some of those other, they call them F-Birds because of the engine code. I mean, that's a $250,000 to $300,000 car right now. I mean, they're for real.
That's
so
legit.
We chatted about T-Birds and stuff, and I snapped a couple of pictures and sent them to Bob Ashton from the Muscle Car and Corvette Nationals. And I asked the owner, I said, you ever been to the Muscle Car and Corvette Nationals? No, I heard of that show. My friend went, but I've never been. I said, yeah, you kind of need to go.
Yeah. It's a mandate now.
Oh, yeah. So the Ashton responds back. He's like, wow, that's really cool.
That is, yeah.
So maybe in 2021, that becomes a thing,
Yeah, we definitely need to stay on top of that one.
Right. And it turns out this guy owns, and he's one of the supercharged Y-block experts of the world. And he's got a bunch of these cars, including, I believe, a one-of-one 1957 Ford Sunliner convertible built to the F standard of the Phase 1 supercharger for NASCAR. I think it's the only one ever done.
Oh my gosh.
And he not only does he have the car, he's got the motor and he's got the paper trail going back to the dealer that sold it in North Carolina. So
Gee whiz.
yeah,
That needs to go to mechanic too. Holy cow.
well, I agree. But it really, to me, the great thing about it was super cool guys, and
Yeah.
that wouldn't have happened if Trevor didn't say, "Hey, I'm going to go out to this local cruise."
Crazy.
And this year has been so goofy with everything being shut down and canceled. Local car cruises have been completely off my radar,
Same.
unlike every other year. So thankfully, Trevor's like, no, I want to go out and do something. And we just happened to send that car. And it was so refreshing to hang out with those guys and just talk about cars, and meet new people and look at stuff. It was missing from my life this year in many, many ways. So very thankful to have that opportunity. Even if nothing else happens, it was just a great night.
Yeah.
It was cool to be car guys again.
Oh man, I miss being a car guy.
Yeah, I know. It's brutal.
Yeah, I didn't go to one local cruise in that our town has during the summer. Not one. They had them, but you had to, be distant, or they only were allowing so many people in the downtown area at a time, and it just, it's not fun.
No, it's too structured, and you gotta remember the rules and wonder if you're doing it right or safely and all the rest. And yeah. No, I agree. So it was really trick. So if everything kind of pans out, we might be featuring a couple of those cars on Muscle Car of the Week, as a matter of fact.
Dig it.
Yeah.
Right
yeah.
on.
So that was cool.
Yeah, speaking of Muscle Car of the Week, I noticed that this last one you featured some local stuff, right? Or from 2 weeks ago.
Gary Heiser's 72 Firebird Formula 455 4-speed car.
Yeah, the blue one.
Yeah, amazing car.
Yes, sir. I love that car.
Yes, and the interesting thing about that one is, he's a customer of ours. We did a bunch of work on that car. It was already completely restored when he bought it, and it was kind of a funny story because he had one new, looked identical, except for his original car had Rally 2 wheels on it and the fender flares and the rear wing. The car he bought had dog dish caps and steel wheels and no rear wing.
Right.
But backing up a few steps, he came in and he said, "Hey, I'm thinking about buying this car because it looks very much like the one that I had when I was, back in 1972. And I said, "Oh, that's cool. Where is it?" And he said, "Well, it's in Southern California, and I'm trying to figure out a way to get somebody to look at it." So luckily, because of some of the connections that I have, I was able to get our buddy Rob Canan, who's formerly with Hot Rod, to go test drive the car and evaluate it and take some pictures.
Cool.
So I said, "Gary, I got you covered. My buddy's going to go take this thing for a cruise. You just got to buy him lunch, basically." And
Yeah.
Gary paid him a couple $100, and Rob did a great job of shooting photos and shooting videos and writing up kind of a report on the car. And he sent it back to Gary. And Gary's like, "Where do I know your name?" And Rob's like, "Oh, I used to work for Hot Rod." And he's like, "Hot Rod Magazine? The guy from Hot Rod Magazine looking at cars for me? This is unbelievable."
I love it.
Yeah, it was cool, and I thank Rob very much for providing that service. But it's nice when the network that you've established works, And Gary ended up buying the car and having it shipped in, and again, it was a full rotisserie restoration. It's beautiful, beautiful car. And we kind of looked it over, and Gary said, "Well, here's the deal. Mine had Rally 2s and a wing, so go to town,
Make it so.
Make it so." And I initially put a Facebook post out saying, which would you prefer, the rallies or the steelies? And then we did that again at the end of the Muscle Car of the Week video. And it was about a 50-50 split of people who like either way. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes.
They both They both check a lot of boxes, both configurations. I love the look of those Steelies with the dog dish caps on them.
I do too.
It's so refreshing because you never see that, especially on a Firebird.
But a Formula, that's kind of what it was.
True. Yeah. But you hardly see it in the stock configuration anymore.
Right.
A lot of people want to Trans Am it up or change it, or have aftermarket wheels or whatever.
Yeah.
So, but that was nice to see.
So he still has both. He keeps them both sets of wheels and tires. So,
Is that right? Swaps them out.
Right. I mean, just to maintain the authenticity of what it was. But he said, "Look, I bought it. It's my car.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to put the Rally 2s on it," which is cool too.
Yeah, I could not agree more with that point of view. It is your car. Do what you want with it.
Yeah, and we had a lot of fun shooting the video on it and getting it out on country roads and just having a nice time. So that was a refreshing break from the norm to be able to play with that one. So we're fortunate.
Nice. You threw up a picture of that LaSalle recently. That LaSalle ambulance.
Yeah, that thing. I got a text over the weekend from the owner of that 39 LaSalle ambulance, and he's like, "Hey, look, I won."
I'm a winner.
Yeah, I said, "You won what?" Apparently there was a virtual Cadillac LaSalle national event.
Really?
So the event was held online by the Cadillac LaSalle Club of America, which was started in 1958. I mean, this is the club.
Jeez.
And they decided to have this national car show event where you had to supply a very detailed tech sheet and then some photos of your car. Mm-hmm. And I think they had a lot of classes. I don't know, 16 classes or something. And the classes went by era of Cadillac. So, 19 whatever, 10 to 20 and 20 to 30, 30 to 40, whatever. And then they had a separate category for LaSalle because LaSalle was a sub-moniker of Cadillac. And I think they had 40 or so LaSalles that entered from around the world in this event. And he took first place.
Right on, man.
So, yeah, that was cool. And there was some serious competition. I mean, some open car roadsters and some sedans and perfectly restored things. And his is a combination car. It's a hearse ambulance that we restored for him a couple of years ago. More of an ambulance than a hearse. So It's bright red with the white walls and all the lights on it and everything.
It wasn't, if memory serves, wasn't that originally a local area ambulance? Wasn't that in Redbud?
Yes, it was actually commissioned by a funeral home in Redbud, Illinois, where our shop is, which back in 39 or 40, I mean, there was probably only, I don't know, 500-600 people in this town.
Sounds right.
There's only 3,300 people in Redbud now.
Gee whiz.
Yeah, it's a small little town. So back then, the funeral homes would buy a hearse and then use it also as an ambulance for the hospitals. It was more common than an ambulance being used for something else. It was a hearse that was used as an ambulance.
Oh, okay.
So that's where the combination vehicle came in. So it was equipped to handle gurneys and live passengers and then last rides as well.
Final destination.
Yeah, right. But there was a sticker in the windshield from I don't know, 1940 or 41 or something when we got it in from Redbud, Illinois that indicated its lineage. And he bought it somewhere in Missouri, and it had been restored once before and everything else, but it was kind of fun to have it kind of come home to be redone in its hometown. So, yeah.
Huge car. Ridiculously sized.
I mean, giant car, wood framed in the back.
Yep.
And skinned with steel, and all that wood was rotted out, so our guys had to put their Bob Vila hats on.
Nice.
Restore all the wood and then do the steel over it and everything else. But it's very authentic. The lighting on it and
Uh-huh.
and a lot of the stuff that was done is period correct. And it was funny. 2 weeks ago, I had texted the owner and I said, I haven't talked to him in a long time because we finished it a while ago. And I said, have you had a chance to enjoy the car this year? Because like I was saying, there's just not the events going on.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, my wife and I take it on this 35-mile lap, every week or week and a half or so, and just drive it and exercise it.
Cool.
And we enjoy it, and people stop us and talk. And then this past weekend, he sent me the text with the photograph of the first place certificate. So it was great for him. It was very cool.
Nice. I'm glad they're enjoying it. That's terrific.
It drives wonderfully.
It looks like it does.
Yeah,
It's like you're riding on a cloud.
It's surprising because the thing's, I don't even know how long it is. I mean, it's huge, and it's got a flathead V8 and an automatic or a manual transmission on the column. But it handles great. I mean, it drives. I'm not going to say like a brand new car, but I mean, it's not all over the road, and it's not wandering and loose. I know we did some steering maintenance. We didn't upgrade anything, so it's got all of its original componentry underneath. It doesn't have like a Mustang 2 front suspension or anything. It's all, LaSalle stuff. Just fixed, right? And Trevor was quick to point out that 30s American cars, especially the nice ones, your Chryslers, your Cadillacs, your LaSalles, were really nice driving cars. I mean, they put a lot of time engineering the design, and they put a lot of emphasis on quality, and they're surprising. You would think that thing would be just a bus wreck, but it was really, you could drive it every day. It was easy to drive, and it steered nice, and power steering and brakes and everything. It was
Oh, I bet the power steering was just like effortless.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
It was super quiet, took bumps really well. It
Nice.
still had the knee action shocks.
Is that right?
Sort of flathead, yeah, but it was a sweet car.
Well, all right, man. I like hearing that. It's nice when you can bring something back in its stock configuration and really experience how it was, when it was new.
Right.
To give you that perspective of, you have an older car typically now that's kind of clapped out, and you drive it, and it is all over the road, and it feels terrible, and you're like, this is how cars were back then? Well, no, this is not how cars were back then. This one's just worn out.
And thanks to the magazines and TV shows and video, we're all kind of conditioned to think that if it's old, it sucks.
Right.
But what people overlook is that wasn't acceptable when the car was new. It had to go straight. It was not allowed to wander all over the place, and it couldn't tip over in a turn, or anything like that. So your point is right. When you correct the wear and make things as they were, the big thing that we do is kind of change the alignment specs.
And you can do that because you have a new alignment rack.
Yeah, very nice.
How's that for a segue? Bam!
Yeah, wow. Gold star for Mr. Cueball. Oh, man. Well, before we go down that road, a lot of times the alignment specs back in the day, the selling points were that they were easy to park.
Okay.
So they tend to make the spindle stand straight up and down, like 0 degrees of caster, so that it was very easy to parallel park the car, because when the spindle's straight up and down, the wheel pivots on its axis real nice. Today, modern cars, that spindle is leaned back towards the windshield. They have a lot of caster in them, much like a chopper motorcycle, that wheels lean back, so that when they go down the highway, you can let go of the wheel and they go straight, forever. And to your point, we've invested, thanks to Kelly and Trevor, into a Hunter Hawkeye digital alignment system, which is an amazing tool. And I didn't, I resisted. I didn't think we needed one. But the challenge we're facing is that we would finish a car, we would do a suspension upgrade or a full restoration, and then take it to an alignment shop, and they would say, well, it's a 1939 LaSalle. That spindle needs to be at 0 degrees of camber, so that's where we're going to set it, or 0 caster. And we would tell them, no. We want to introduce some casters so that it drives more modern. And they wouldn't veer off the original specifications if they could find them. Or they would have a problem grabbing a custom wheel, or a lowered vehicle was challenging.
Okay.
So Trevor's like, look, if we get this machine, these Hunter machines are amazing, and they can grab any wheel, and they don't care if the car is lowered, and they can do things like measure the ride height if you've got coilover shocks, and verify that it's level and true and all the rest.
Oh, wow.
This machine, so we've got a drive-on 4-post lift, and you can adapt that lift to become an alignment machine as well. So they added some pivot tables to the front so you can turn the wheels.
Right.
And this machine it's amazing. If you drive a car on the rack, you can clip the targets on the 4 wheels and measure the alignment specs in 70 seconds.
What?
It's crazy.
That's
it's
nuts.
amazing. And it's all, it's laser, optical, and Bluetooth all at the same time.
Jeez.
So now we can take a car that came in off the street or that we worked on, drive it on, clip these things on, and go, oh, yeah, we know what we need to do like right away. So alignments, the whole process might not be super quick, because if it's a 50-year-old car, you might be fighting rusty bolts or whatever. But at least we're in control of the spec now.
Right.
And we've done, I don't know, 5 or 6 cars in the past couple of weeks already that are from the 50s through the 70s muscle cars, and we put our spec on them, and now all of a sudden they drive much more like a new car with that let go of the wheel feeling of being able to go straight down the road and handle better and not get thrown off by ruts in the road and all the rest of it. And it's not one of those investments that's going to pay for itself anytime soon, because it was a pretty expensive machine.
Sure, that wasn't free, baby.
Yeah, and an alignment, is not a very high dollar thing.
Right.
But it allows us to not have to release the car into somebody else's control to do that, and it's a service we can provide that we know we're in control of.
Yeah, it keeps quality control in-house. That's
correct.
That's perfect.
Yeah, and it's cool.
Yeah, that in and of itself, I think, makes it worth it. If you can maintain and improve quality control, keep it in-house, that's what you want.
Yes, and again, if somebody has whatever size custom wheel, we can handle it now, and we know how much those wheels cost. So we're not going to mar up the wheels and worry about scratching them and all the rest. So it's been a very cool tool, and it's fun to see what we can learn off this. So like today, if we do a 69 Camaro with a Detroit Speed Quadrolink and coilover shocks all the way around, before we were setting the ride height by measuring tools and by eye, to make sure that everything's correct. And you got pretty close. But now there is a ride height function where you push a button and it goes, yeah, your driver's side rear is, 1/16 higher than the rest of the car.
Oh my gosh.
And we can adjust that spring, and next thing you know, it's perfect.
Huh. That's pretty cool, man.
It is.
I got to tell you, that's pretty neat.
The technology is amazing, and Hunter makes some of the world's best equipment.
Is that right?
And they really do, and they're very widely known as being top of the line. And again, everything is cloud based, so it's downloading software updates on its own. We don't even know, that it happened, so it's current, but it does go back. I think their library goes back to the 40s, even with the base stock package.
Cool.
So we're covered.
Cow.
Yeah, it's great. I'm very happy with it.
I imagine you are.
I wouldn't have said that, before it happened, I'm like, do we really need this? I mean, alignment down the street's a couple $100. It's done. And they're like, no, you don't understand.
Yeah. Come on, man. You
Right.
don't know. You're not there.
Right. Now I understand.
That's good, man. Right on. Where in the shop is it?
It is right in our mechanics bay. So we have technically 4 buildings.
Right.
And in the center location, in our main mechanics center, our 4-post lift is also the alignment bay. And it's pretty cool because the brains of the machine are on a roll-away type tool cabinet. So you just roll it in front of the lift, push the button, and it works. When you're done, you roll it out of the way, and it's just a lift again.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
That's
It's neat.
actually awesome.
Yeah. Very happy with that.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it too.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I was kind of surprised because we put a Facebook post out saying that, we have this technology now, and hundreds of people are like, yeah, right on. And I was like, really? Wow. I'm like, I'm glad you dig it. I didn't really realize it. So one of our first drive-in jobs was a gentleman with a Pontiac, of all things.
Hey, how about that?
Yes, a 60.
It was like a 69 Le Mans or 70 Le Mans?
Well, the first one was a 72 Le Mans GT, the white car.
Yeah.
And that's when we kind of cut our teeth on. But right after that was a 66 Le Mans. And the guy had done ride tech suspension on it, lowered it, put bigger wheels and brakes. And he's like, yeah, I eyeballed my alignment and I drove it from Florida to Illinois. And my tires are still there. So I think it's pretty close.
I would imagine it's fairly close.
Yeah, so he's like, can you guys just verify everything? So we put it on the rack, and he was really, really close with his ichrometer alignment job. And,
I have line cars like that.
yes, and tape measure and then chalk marks. And we just kind of dialed it in a little bit. And when we sent him home and followed up with him a couple days later, he said, yeah, I noticed an improvement. It tracks better and straighter. And I appreciate that. So, we're kind of advertising that service of dialing in the car for what you have and not just, again, what the factory spec is.
Yeah.
But then, our team follows up. So have you ever had an alignment shop call you 2 days later and say, does it feel good? No, but that's what our team is doing.
Nope, never, not once.
Right. And then it's a big difference because you might get an alignment done and say, you know what, this is kind of following the crown of the road or whatever. But our team really wants to make sure your car is right. And we're not a general repair shop. It's clearly only for customs, muscle cars, classics, whatever. But I think that makes a huge difference when Joe in our shop calls up and says, hey, when you drove that car home, did it feel right? Luckily they all have, but that's the whole thing.
Not luckily, absolutely they have.
Well, there's a little bit of, like part of Trevor's frustration is we'll tune a fuel injection car for how we drive it. But then the customer picks it up and their foot is different.
Right.
And we have to make sure it's tuned for what
For
the customer
yeah.
is comfortable with and not how we are. So we always like to go for a ride along and observe and data log, all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, that all lends itself to the client experience and making sure that your clients have an exceptional experience.
we just want them to be happy, just love the
Exactly.
car. That's it, with what they got. So sometimes it's tricky, but
Yeah,
again,
I imagine
that's
it can
how-
be tricky from time to time.
But that's how I would want it, as a customer. If I bring my car somewhere, I just don't want to feel like, we got it in, we got it out, get the hell out of here.
I got to turn this bay over. Get your crap out of here. Let's
Well,
go.
yeah,
Let's
I mean,
go.
That's a general repair shop has to do the numbers.
They got to turn
that
and
volume.
burn.
That's it. So, and then this, it's funny. This year it's been so hit or miss with events, but a month ago, I guess now, I was fortunate enough to be able to go out to Bonneville
Right.
and see the Speed Demon set the piston-driven land speed record of all time,
Unbelievable.
which was crazy. And I recorded a few interviews from Kenny Duttweiler, the engine builder, and actually some of the people that actually do the timing at Bonneville and run the event. And I know I teased this before saying we're going to do a special episode on that, but I don't want to edit those down. I'd love to have those interviews play in their full length. So
Okay.
I'm going to make those specially available downloadable files.
Perfect.
So you can click on these on our website at v8radio.com and listen to the entire interview with Kenny Duttweiler and the announcer
Cool.
from Bonneville and the lady in the timing tower and hear all that stuff kind of unfiltered because it's cool stuff.
Yeah.
And
kinda-
she's in the timing tower. She's got binoculars and she's calling out the quarter mile speed and the eighth mile and a half and the 1 mile, 2 mile,
Nice.
4 and 5. And then on the radio, and then trying to answer my questions, and look out at the next one,
Nice.
And rather than cut that stuff apart, we're just going to let it fly. So
That's perfect. What was that piston-driven record?
it's like 479 miles an hour.
Good God, man!
That's crazy.
On a piston-driven car.
Yes.
Well, I should say vehicle.
Well, it's a car, four-wheel,
I guess,
streamliner. Yeah. I don't even know how many horsepower it is. It doesn't make traction until like the third mile.
A couple 200-300.
Couple of 200-300.
Couple 200-300 horsepowers over right there.
It's not as much as Vinny had with that Nova. I mean, that was
Dad would
crazy.
have broken the record.
All the records.
All the records.
Smashed them. Shattered them. That streamliner crap got nothing on Vinny's Nova.
No.
Yeah.
No, it got a 350 small block in there. 4
It
barrel.
was a
4 bolt
327.
mains.
It was just a 327.
Oh, with
Wasn't even
three,
a 350.
with a 3/4 cam.
It was an L79.
Oh, hey there.
No, that was really unbelievable. Just one of the highlights of that whole weekend was those guys ran one of their motor programs and they were trying to set the record, and the engine quit. It didn't quit, but they lost a cylinder. So it ran a certain mile per hour on 7 cylinders.
Wow.
And they thought they had this big oil fire, and it was a big problem. And they bring it back to the pits, and Kenny Duttweiler tells a story, but they take a bore scope and they look down number 7, and there's a hole burned right through the center of the piston.
Oh, boy.
It leaned out and burned the piston. But upon closer inspection, it was right through the center of the piston, so it didn't cause a catastrophic failure. That particular hole just lost compression. So they said, we can just put a piston in it.
Yeah, run it.
And Kenny's like, where did all the aluminum go? And he's
Point
like, well,
of order.
right. He's like, I think it's just kind of all caked down to the crank or something. I don't know. They couldn't find like scored cylinder walls. Nothing was really damaged. It's just bored a hole through the piston. So I walk into the pits, and here they are with this trailer with the side door open, and the engine block is on the floor on its side, and there's Steve Watt and his team are putting new pistons in this thing, just laying there, just like any other weekend drag racer,
Right.
that
Cool,
brought
man.
enough extra parts. Except this is, some of the highest technology land speed racing on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still the same as a regular guy, so they were able
Totally.
to put it all back together, get it out back on the salt, and run it again. And this year, because the COVID situation reduced the attendance, people couldn't fly in from other countries, the travel restrictions and all
Right.
that kind of crap, that Kenny was telling me that they could have run laps. They could have run the salt and bring it right back to the start. And if it was good to go, run it again. There was no waiting. And that's part of the contributor of them having the opportunity to run so many runs and actually set those records. So it was, you'll be able to download that at v8radio.com and hear it straight from him.
Dig it. Well, that's cool, man. I'm glad you had a great time out there.
It is a great time. Bonneville's otherworldly. It's
there's some kind of purity to the whole thing, I think.
Yeah, and it's so different from daily life.
I'm sure it is.
It's not a road, It's not there's no traffic lights or street corners, it's just this big giant open space, and you just do your thing.
That's cool.
And there's no context either. You might have this 500 mile an hour streamliner, and the vehicle up next is a 50cc motorcycle. The guy's trying to go 80 miles an hour.
Nice.
And everyone's cheering for him just as much.
Oh yeah. I believe it.
He's trying to set the record.
Yeah.
And then you'll find a pickup truck that did 150, and then it's another C3 Corvette that's going for 210 or whatever. It's not like at a drag race where all the 10-inch tire cars are up and then all the alcohol cars are up. Just whatever is up next gets to run.
That's neat. I'd love to see that, a 50cc bike trying to go 80 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that'd be great.
Yeah, you laugh, but these 60s Hondas are like a hot class right now.
Is that right?
Yeah, they're finally starting to apply like high technology engine build stuff, coatings and machine work to these small CC bikes, because those records are out there for the taking. If you can do it, you can get it.
That's cool, man.
It is.
I got to get out there someday. God dang it.
You do. Darn it.
You're selling it too much. You're selling it too good.
It's awesome, and I've told many people, and they all have the same reaction. Man, I'm going next year. So you need to go.
Yeah. We need to do a live show out there.
That'd be great. Yeah, they're finally getting the web connectivity out there strong enough to be able to do it.
Is that right?
And I interviewed the official track announcer. It's a guy named Seldom Seen Slim.
Oh.
And he's out there for the entire week, calling car by car. I mean, it's a brutal thing. He's in this trailer, and it's not very air conditioned, and it's hot out there because it's August, and he brings it every time, and commentary and kind of play by play. It's really cool.
Seldom Seen Slim.
That's right. You
That's
can
a
download
name,
the interview.
boy.
Yeah, it's
I
for
like
real.
it.
Yeah, it's cool.
Nice.
And then 2 weeks ago, I was down at the four-wheel jamboree
Right.
in Indy, which was a 180-degree experience from Bonneville.
Oh, I bet.
The 39th annual O'Reilly Auto Parts Fall Four-Wheel Jamboree.
As Kevin said 300 times that weekend.
More than that. Yeah, I was fortunate enough to be the stage announcer and the event announcer. So yes, every time you turn the mic on, you open with the 39th annual O'Reilly Auto Parts Fall Four-Wheel Jamboree. But that's a fun event too, because it's a younger crowd, and there's a cruise lap, so they're cruising their four-wheel drives and their lifted trucks and Jeeps, and there's a show and shine, and there's vendors, and then there's the infield where the mud bog races are, and the mega trucks, the monster trucks, and a series called Tough Trucks. The Tough Trucks to me are some of the best. A lot of these, there's a stock and modified class. The stock Tough Trucks are guys that drove to this event, and then they race on tabletops and hill and hole mud pits and everything, and then drive the thing home if they don't break it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I wonder what the ratio is of those who drove home and those who didn't is.
Yeah, I think they have a lot of friends with trailers.
I would imagine so.
So that's a lot of fun. And then this emerging class is the mega trucks, which is technically a monster truck, but with a smaller tire on it. It's still an agricultural tractor tire,
Okay.
But it's 15 to 1600 horsepower and 500 or 600 pounds less than a monster truck, but more power. And they're capable of flying like hundreds of feet through the air on jumps.
Oh my gosh.
And Dennis Anderson, our friend that drove Gravedigger, in that monster truck team, he's now fully immersed in the mega truck scene.
Cool.
With his son. And just a super cool guy. I had a chance to talk to him for a few minutes. Just a great ambassador for that sport. One thing about Dennis Anderson is all weekend long, he had 50 to 100 people deep wanting his autograph.
That's nice.
He signed every one and took a photo with every single person.
Wow.
No questions asked. You're getting it.
That's
impressive.
It was
so cool. Yeah.
That is very, very cool.
Just a gracious guy who loves his fans and knows that without them, he's got nothing.
Right.
So,
Right. Just like without our fan, we are nothing. This show is
correct.
nothing.
Well, we
Without
are
our
nothing even with our fan. Oh, man. And our fan is getting antsy
Yeah, yes, our fan is getting antsy.
to learn the answers to our trivia question.
Okay, fan.
Okay, buddy. Here you go, pal.
Okay, dude. All right, so Kevin, I asked you about the little engine that could that Pontiac produced, the four-cylinder engine that ran from 1977 to 1993. And I asked you what the name of that engine was. And you said it was named after John Wayne, and they called it
made that part up.
The Iron Duke. Well, be that as it may, that is absolutely the correct answer.
All right.
Iron Duke it is.
I don't know if they named it after the Duke or not. There's a story there for sure.
Well, I was trying to find where the source of that name, the genesis of that name, but I couldn't find it. So maybe if our fan knows,
please share it with us.
Drop us a line.
When you do your 5-star review on iTunes, add in there the truth about the Iron Duke. And then there's a new segment called News to Me.
Oh my God.
Right on.
Yeah, man.
We owe our fan a beer, I think.
Yeah.
All right. Well, awesome. I have an answer for your question, which was how many Cadillacs were produced in 1967? A nice round number.
Yes.
And with a little coaxing, you said 100,000.
Yes.
Which was a great answer, except
however,
the correct answer was 200,000.
God bless America.
You're on the right track. If I would have maybe coached you again, you might have brought it up.
Maybe. Oh, man. Well,
It is what it is.
Still a good number.
It's a great number. That was back, when American car producers built a lot of cars, and I was trying to hopefully get you to up that number a little bit with the amount of caddies that were produced, but that's okay.
Well, I mean, you pretty much only had the big three to pick from, so I guess you'd have to produce a lot of cars to feed the masses, so to speak.
Yeah, I think 67 Pontiac did like 287 or 300,000, something like that. But Caddy was a big deal back then. So
great cars.
They made a lot. Yes.
Great alignment specs.
Yeah. Well, when Trevor does them, they go straight.
That's right, man.
For sure. All right. Well, listen, this was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
It was long overdue. Yeah. We apologize for that, but we'll try to get back on more of a regular schedule if Mike gets his deck built.
Yeah. Well, I'll get as much as I can done.
Right on. Carve out a few minutes for us, and I'll try to do the same.
Dig it, man.
Yeah. And again, we're now going to start blatantly soliciting positive reviews and feedbacks.
Yes, please.
Everybody else does. Why not?
Absolutely.
So if you're listening to us on a platform that allows you to click a 5-star or leave a couple of positive words, we're very appreciative of that. And you can listen again on iTunes. I'm not sure. I think the Google Play thing went away, but
It may have.
Spotify, Stitcher, Podchaser, of course, the Facebook page,
iHeartRadio.
iHeartRadio is a big one. Yeah,
Ba-boom.
They're growing quite a bit.
Our buddy Clarence Barnes is on iHeartRadio quite a bit.
That's right. While you're listening to us, if you finish this show, flip over to the iHeartRadio 80s channel, and you'll hear our friend Clarence. And anywhere else your podcasts are found, hopefully soon to be Amazon as well.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's a good teaser.
Yeah, how about that?
Amen.
We'll find out. Maybe on the next episode. The next Tooth Fairy episode. What was it?
Toothsome.
Toothsome episode.
You have no idea the research I go through to come up with these damn names.
I know, man. We've done a lot of these episodes, and you always come up with a new one. I'm impressed.
Thank you. Thank you very
more
much.
than 90 words in the English language. Not that many of them describe this show.
Oh, I know it. I'm really getting close.
We'll also take suggestions from our listener on those.
Yes, please.
Yes. All right. So for Mr. Mike Q-Ball Clark, I'm Kevin Ostie, thanking you for listening and reminding you to keep it over 150. And we'll see you next time on VA Radio.